Hello, this is Justin Call. I'm the president of Broomstick Monkey Games, and you're about to view a tutorial for how to build your own customized maps, your own unique board layouts for a two-player game of Imperial Harvest. And I've actually been tinkering just recently with some pieces and created this very interesting board that you see here. I actually left out a piece because I couldn't find a way to fit it in after I put this square tile in the center. And I've used all the number of strawberries that are given in the game, so the board is still symmetrical and evenly laid out, and I'm actually kind of interested in playing this board. It's got some interesting mechanics with a very small island in the center that the hydras are constantly going to be patrolling, and then a huge collection of strawberries to entice people in that direction. And the board is smaller because we've taken out this piece. As you can see, completely different board. There is no real wrong way to set up a game of Imperial Harvest. I do suggest doing something that's symmetrical and placing the enemy's strawberry camp closer to you or farther away from them so that it's not easy for either person to just dump their strawberries that they've collected into their strawberry camp. Makes things more interesting, more exciting. And of course, I mentioned in the other tutorial videos, hydras are parked in the moat closest to strawberry camps and any extra strawberries that are on the board once you've placed the typical numbers of strawberries. So this is just an example of one board that you could set up that I've done here just in my free time. I'm going to do a new one now, though. So I'm going to go ahead and set this camera down. I'm going to take all the pieces off the board real fast and see if we can make an entirely new two-player board for Imperial Harvest. I've been tinkering with this a lot today, just for fun, seeing different kinds of boards that we could do, and this one came out, and I was kind of excited about it, so I thought I'd share it with you guys before I took it down. Let's see, here we go. Now again, when you're setting up the board, the hedge placement is not important. If you do set up pieces where two hedges form a wall, for example, if during the course of building your board you did something like this, where you had two hedges creating a wall, that's okay. You'll be building the board before people draft their characters, so then they'll have to react to that interesting geography of the board during the course of the game and adapt to it before they draft their characters. And there's plenty of characters to do that with. All right, so I've got the pieces more or less separated. I typically like to start with the moats because they're going to be what change the general outline, the general form of your game. And sometimes I like to go traditional, sometimes I like to go non-traditional. There's several different maps that are mentioned in the rule book. There's also several on our website, broomstickmonkey.com, that show two-player maps, 4, 6, 8. Some really cool maps on there. But I'm going to try and create something entirely new. And since I'm doing it right off the cuff, there is no guarantee that these will be good. So bear with me. I'm going to try and do something a little unorthodox. Normally you wouldn't put two moats together like this because it requires you to either have two bridges next to each other in order to cross it, or you don't put two bridges there, and then it's going to be nearly impossible for people to cross that sort of watery wake. But you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. Like I said, there's virtually no wrong way to set up your board, and there's no hard and fast rules. This does still create a river that can be crossed, and you could put two bridges here. Well, not here, because then you wouldn't have anywhere to connect to. So maybe we should try something a little bit different with this one. So there aren't three pieces of water next to each other. That's virtually insurmountable. But two is good. We could put these up here. And this should create some interesting tension. Problem with these, though, if I were to do this, see we're going to have a gap here where there's a strip, and that's where the moats come in. You almost have to form them differently in order to not have gaps in your board. So like this wouldn't work, for example. So I'm going to keep fiddling with this until I find something that I really like. But for now, I'm going to try and make this work. I'm going to try and create a river that has at least some pieces that are too wide, because I think that would be kind of fun to have to navigate. So assuming that this is our board, let's make sure you can see the whole thing. Assuming that this is our board, logically I would probably place some of these garden tiles in here right off the bat. And to keep the symmetry going, we'll add 2 more. Looks like we have a convenient gap here for some square tiles. So I'm thinking, I don't know, what should we do here? We're going to have to get our character camps and strawberry camps in at some point. And conveniently enough, I like keeping those camps close to the water because that's where the hydras are going to be. So assuming that this is where the camps are, then the hydras would typically go someplace here. Is that right? Got, I guess it would be up here. So it would either be here and here. Yeah, because that way they can get into the center easily and off to the edges easily. That'd be interesting. So assuming that that's where they're going to be, then we can kind of build around that a little bit more, fill in the area. We still need to get our character camps out, and I don't want to put this character camp close to its strawberry camp or this one close to its camp, so I'm just going to kind of swap these around. And, you know, let's see, I don't want them to be too close to the hydras either, because if the Northern Raiders chose to move the hydra twice, then they could potentially kill the people that are here, but they wouldn't be able to move it 3 times, so technically this is still a safe place. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll with it. There we go. And again, the reason I put these camps this way is so that you're going to have to run from your camp, from one camp to the other. The only problem with this that I see is it encourages you to stay on your side of the moat. So if you're spawning here and you're dropping strawberries off here, there's really no reason to cross this moat. So before I finish the board, let's see if we can make this force our characters to cross the moat. So the quickest way to do that would be if I took this piece here and dropped it in here and swap these 2 out. So if I do that, then it doesn't matter where these icons are. I just like to have them facing away from the board because it helps suggest where you should put your characters. But in this scenario, you might spawn here and you need to drop your strawberries off here, but that means you have to cross the moat, and that's going to be hard because of where the bridges are going to be placed. Plus there's a hydra in your way. So it almost encourages you to stay on this side of the board, but you still need to get over there. So this should create a high level of interaction, which means we can drop these pieces in here. And voila, we have a new 2-player board that's kind of exciting. We do still need to place the bridges. And technically speaking, if you're going to play according to the rules, you should now pull these camps out and take turns choosing where you're going to be placing your camps. Although I think in this scenario, you can either agree ahead of time where the camps are going to be placed and just say, you know what, wherever the chips fall, we're going to go with that and play as it is. Because right here, for example, we have those 2 hedges that are creating a wall, so that's not going to be a fun place for the people on this side to navigate, whereas there's a little bit more open area here. But, you know, you play multiple games of this and you let the chips fall where they may most of the time, and it's not going to be a problem, tactically speaking, because you can draft characters to get around things like that. But you can also choose to do something like this, where the Imperial servants get to go first, and they're going to choose to place their camp somewhere on this side of the moat. And ironically, we could, since we have gaps here in the corners, we could let them place their camp there. And then the Northern Raiders, likely they would try something like putting their 2 camps here, but, you know, because then they wouldn't have to go very far to drop off their strawberries. Alternatively, though, this is an interesting scenario. If you did choose to do that, yes, you could pick up some strawberries and drop them off quickly, but you're also, while you're dropping your strawberries off, you're denying yourself access to the whole range of the board. In order to drop those strawberries off, you're going to lose some strawberry powers, inevitably, because you're not going to have very many strawberries to drop off anyway. So, having a strawberry camp close to your character camp isn't always the best scenario. So for these guys, for example, they could place their strawberry camp all the way over here to navigate all those waters. But, like we were suggesting earlier, I'm going to go ahead and leave these strawberry camps here in the corners. And the Imperial servants, they're going to bite the bullet and take this camp over here. These guys are going to go in the middle. So assuming that was agreed upon before they started, then the Imperial servants are going to take their bridges. They're going to place one bridge. And since this is where they are, and they're going to have to, this isn't really bad to get around because they can walk straight down here or walk right over here. It's really not a problem at all. The question is the Hydra. So do they want to place a bridge here and quickly cross the other side, which the other Northern Raiders could utilize as well? Or do they want to leave a back door open to their strawberry camp? And I'm going to suggest that they do that. So then it also prevents these guys from placing bridges here and utilizing the Hydra. Now the Imperial servants, the Northern Raiders, they get to place two of their bridges. And for fun, let's say that we do agree, legally speaking, to place two bridges like that. I wouldn't typically suggest that because there's Hydra here and he's going to be able to skip back and forth pretty easily between these areas. And so for the Northern Raiders, that would actually be a bad play. But you could do that if you agreed ahead of time to allow yourselves to have two bridges next to each other in this sort of double moat scenario. But since that would be a poor play for the Northern Raiders, and they're not going to play poorly because they're smart, they're clever, we're going to go ahead and drop those pieces there, which leaves these guys with one bridge. And let's see, they're going to place it. You can't place it here according to the map because it's not connecting any territory. And while we might have allowed two bridges here, those two bridges would have been connecting territories. So in this scenario, where are we going to drop this? I'm going to have to drop it here, I guess. It's still on the L shape. Oh no, it's on the other L shape. So it looks like, according to this, now this is what happens when you do your own custom scenarios. So we've got hedges here that are going to block the bridge. So I couldn't place it here. I can't place it here or here or here because it's floating out in the middle of the water because of the way we've created our moat, which is why I'm breaking the rules and doing this setup. But I'm also trying to create something that's entirely unique. So assuming that I wanted to keep this setup, then let's see, I couldn't put it here because there's a hedge there. There's a couple different things you could do. You could agree to do something like this, where it's connecting sort of an L-shaped bridge. I wouldn't suggest that, though. Oh, no, you can't do that because you've got this L-shaped moat tile here. See, this is difficult. So I'm going to leave that there, as we agreed earlier. And one of the things that I do occasionally do, if I'm playing with people that are setting up boards for the first time and they have an illegal setup like this, if you do have two hedges that are blocking bridge placement, the board is set up so that you're not going to have that happen in the rest of this. So you're not going to have an illegal placement on this side, except we have the two moats here. So that obviously creates problems. But I am going to illegally place this bridge right here. And, hopefully this could be an advantage or a disadvantage for people that aren't able to get over walls, get over hedges. But in fact, I'm going to put it over here. It's going to make things even more interesting. So again, this bridge placement is technically illegal, but all the other bridge placement is legal. And then as far as where we're going to place our strawberries, go ahead and start placing those. The basic rule for those is on the rectangular tiles that are on the outside of the board, you're going to be placing it in the middle, outer perimeter of those. When you get into tiles that are close to the center, you can place it here. Again, still on the outer perimeter, except when it's too close to a character camp, in which case you're going to slide it one space away. And then, because of symmetry, we're going to do something similar here and here. These tiles here, strawberries need to be placed close to hydras when possible. And so we're just going to place two there, which means we're going to be placing two here. And we still have two strawberries left. These are our Every tile right now, every garden tile has a strawberry. And there are 2 extra strawberries you're supposed to place close to the hydras and close to the center of the board as much as possible. So in this scenario, we could try and place them here. That would work. We could also try, because this is still kind of close to a character camp, so if we want to make things more exciting, we could shift things around a bit. Move this strawberry here and this strawberry there, which means this strawberry is going to go here and this one's going to come down here. So now we've got some strawberries that are right next to hydras. There's already 1 strawberry right next to a hydra. Now there's 2 for each hydra. So assuming that we kept this board set up, oh, there's something wrong there. Let's see. This strawberry is supposed to be there. Is that right? That's right. There we go. There we go. Okay. So now I've got our strawberries all placed evenly, symmetrically across the board. We've got our bridge placement. We've got our hydras placed. And you can play that. I think I like the other board that I did previous to starting this one, but this one does have some interesting opportunities. I do wish that it didn't have the hedges that are here blocking that bridge, because that creates a bad example for players. But you know, there's also no reason we can't cheat a little bit in our random board setup and try something like this. And suddenly that bridge is legal and perfectly playable. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways to set up the board, and I encourage you to explore many. You could try adding extra strawberries. We do include a couple extra strawberries with each game, and then there's more strawberries to pluck, and it's going to be a lot more frenetic. You could include less strawberries. Maybe you only put 4 on the board, and then you're going to have to fight over which characters are going to get those and how quickly you're going to get them back to your character camps, or excuse me, your strawberry camps. Which characters are going to get their strawberry powers first, and which ones might never get their strawberry powers. There is so much modularity and so much replayability and variableness to how you can set up your boards. So I encourage you to try new things, try breaking the rules, try new strategies. But first you might want to try actually following the rules and see how many maps you can create that are well balanced and fun. And some good examples of those can be found on our website, as I mentioned before, broomstickmonkey.com. And yeah, please post pictures to Twitter at playbmg.com. At playbmg is our Twitter handle. And then you can email us query@broomstickmonkey.com. We'd love to see your pictures. We'd love to see your new maps. You can also post them to boardgamegeek.com on our Imperial Harvest page and show people what you got. If you can create a cool scenario, maybe you've got your champions are sort of close to one end of the board and they're racing to get to the other end of the board where the 2 strawberry camps are, and all the strawberries are kind of piled up at the end. That would be an interesting board where you'd have to draft more mobility-based characters, ethereal characters, rogues, etc., and try and find a way to navigate those obstacles swiftly. Every board setup that you create that's unique and different suggests a different kind of team that would be best at tackling those challenges. So again, there really isn't a bad way to set these boards up, even if it's not symmetrical. We've played on some asymmetrical boards that have been a lot of fun, if a little imbalanced when you get to the end of the game. And I do prefer balance, which is why I like my symmetrical boards more. But if you're playing with people that are having a good time, there's, again, no wrong way to set this up. So enjoy your games of Imperial Harvest and check out the rest of our tutorial videos.